The Morbius movie literally ruined Morbius' character. A character with so many comic book appearances. A character who has shown up in multiple TV shows and multiple video games as well. Morbius should be way more revered than he currently is. But his movie quite literally nuked all possibilities of Morbius ever becoming a popular character. He's popular, but he has sadly entered the meme character realm. Now, I don't know if a character can even come back from the meme realm. The living vampire, who was one of Spider-Man's first villains turned anti-hero, truly has been done dirty by this god-awful movie. Morbius, a literal staple in Spider-Man comic media. But most people only know him for Morbin time and poor lighting. I bet most of the people watching this don't even realize how prominent of a character Morbius is. Actually, let's do that right now. Let's make a bet real quick. Based on comic book appearances alone, how many comic books do you think Morbius has been in? I'll even give y'all multiple choice. What is your guess? That's like a fuck ton. That would put him in like the 8th most reoccurring villain in Spider-Man history. 8th. That's like above these guys. These iconic people. Here are a few Spider-Man characters that are definitely more well-known and well-regarded than Morbius, but they all have less comic appearances than him. It's actually insane to think about just how prominent this character was. A character with 200 plus comics, multiple adaptations, is literally ruined by a movie created by a team of people who had zero desire to actually learn who Morbius is, an entire cast of actors who all seemed like they didn't want to be there, except for Matt Smith. That guy actually tried. And then the guy who played Morbius himself was accused a plethora of times of misconduct with women. He's also been accused of pedophilia. Jared Leto, people. This movie is a dumpster fire. But before we go into the full depths of how much this movie ruined his character, let's at least establish who Morbius is in the comics and talk about some of his other adaptations as well. Morbius first appears in Amazing Spider-Man 101. At this point in Amazing Spider-Man, Peter is actually having issues with his genes, so he actually grew extra arms. Pretty funny, we're on like the scary Spider-Man month. I just made a video on Man-Spider, and here Spider-Man is with extra arms. He doesn't become like Man-Spider or anything in this part of the story or anything, and we're not focusing on that because this is a Morbius video, but I thought it was pretty funny that that's where Morbius first appears. Morbius' real name is Michael Morbius. He's a very smart man who comes from a foreign country. He was born with a rare blood disease that would soon take his life. He and his partner Nikos work tirelessly at an attempt to stave off Michael's death. Morbius and his friend tried to use bats to see if they could stave off the disease. They did like some sort of shock experiment, and Michael Morbius was now Morbius the living vampire. Dude literally got electrocuted so hard it even changed his outfit into Morbius' classic iconic look. When he leaves the shock chamber, he initially immediately kills his friend Nikos in a vampiric anger. This is important to note because Morbius did not want to do this. He just has these urges and impulses that make him do so, now that he's merged with the Bat. We see Morbius on the ship headed to shore. He's stowing away when he's caught and has to fight for his life. A bunch of sailors versus the living vampire. I wonder who's going to win this one. I think it's pretty obvious. Morbius would kill them all, but would lament their deaths and even say he wishes it was him instead. Or something along those lines. The dude's like a freaking poet the way he speaks. He actually runs into Spider-Man as he's fleeing the area, and the two have a massive bout. That's when like Kirk Connors comes in, and he transforms into the Lizard during all this craziness. It gets even crazier. Like I said, Morbius' first appearance is in 101, and then in 102, we actually get a lot of the flashback history. That's where we learn all of his stuff from his origin. These two issues alone give us a pretty solid story of who Morbius is. Morbius is a man with a rare disease, and he's going to die. He wants to find a cure, and when he does so, said cure turns him into a monster. He now constantly has to fight these monster urges and try to remember what's it like to be human, often thinking he'd rather be dead now that he's actually alive and a vampire. This alone is fucking fire for a character. I think it's great. The villain isn't one note. They don't even want to be a villain in the first place, but they have immense power and they just can't control themselves. And I think it's great. It's also like not convoluted either. It's pretty straightforward while also not being shallow in depth. Now, we went over his first appearance, but Morbius would actually be very well liked back in the day. Like, prior to his movie just obliterating any commercial success he would have or a larger, wider fan base, he actually did have a bit of a dedicated fan base back in the day. This character, Morbius, actually spun off of Spider-Man series long before Venom did. Yeah, if you're looking for a villain turned good guy / anti-hero, In Spider-Man's mythos, Morbius came way before Venom. He actually comes before Punisher. Yeah, before Punisher even had his first appearance in Spider-Man, before he was even created as a character, Morbius was already getting solo comic book stories. And this is a time when villains never got their own stories. There was clearly a lot of dedicated comic book fans for Morbius. It's because his character is pretty likable. He isn't necessarily a villain. He was born with a rare disease, so it's not his fault that he's like this. He wanted to survive, so he made a cure that turned him into a vampire. From there, he kills his best friend, and he regrets it immediately. Now he's cursed trying to fight these vampiric urges while also trying to do what's right and fight off villains. It's a great character. We can tell Morbius is a villain that doesn't want to be a villain, which leaves a lot of room for this character to grow. In the comics, Morbius goes through a lot of story and history, whether it be like battling it out with Spider-Man, becoming an anti-hero and joining the Midnight Suns, teaming up with Blade or teaming up with Spider-Man. The character is clearly done in multiple different ways and has grown a lot over the years. Lots of villains can be one note and don't work or grow, but Michael Morbius is a really solid groundwork for a good character. He's not one note, and he does grow throughout his entire story. When you look at adaptations, I think the first and best one to talk about would be the 90s show adaptation.
The pain! Not now! No!
This is probably my pick for the definitive Morbius adaptation. Morbius doesn't become like a vampire due to needing to save himself from a disease, however. That's definitely different in the show. But everything else about the 90s show that doesn't include Morbius' origin feels like it's pretty well done. He's a genius, right?
Amazing. Personal science log entry 814.
He's from a foreign country.
You are wealthy. You do not know the poverty, the suffering I have seen. My village was a beautiful place.
He speaks in poems.
Alicia, my love. No! I must keep trying to rid myself of this horrible need for...
The character feels like Morbius. On top of that, he becomes a vampire. He doesn't want to be a mass-murdering vampire. He'd also rather die than continue on this pathway. This character in the 90s adaptation goes through constant inner turmoil, just like in the comics. He eventually meets Blade, he gets a new lease on life, and the two of them work together as vampire bounty hunters. Like I said, outside of the origin story, this really feels like an authentic adaptation for Morbius. The showrunners clearly didn't want to change too much, but they did have to make it work in line with the story, so it's not 2,000% faithful for the comics, but I feel like it's spiritually faithful to the comics. The one thing everybody talks about the 90s adaptation in particular when it comes to Morbius is the fact that his hands have suckers. I think this is like the biggest non-issue I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, his hands have suckers on them, and he says he's drinking plasma. And people are going off the rails about how the 90s adaptation is terrible and it's for kids because he's not biting people's necks and sucking their blood or saying blood. I don't know. I don't really give a shit, personally. I don't really need to see him sucking blood. I don't care. I know he's a vampire, and I don't need him to say the word blood. I know there's plasma in blood, so it doesn't make a difference to me. It's a kid's show at the end of the day. It's still fire. It's not like it's super duper heavily centered to the sense where they can't even talk. Like, they still talk and they do whatever they gotta do. I just think it's so overblown, the suckers thing. It's just another way to portray the character to make it work in a different type of media, and it worked. So I don't see the problem, personally. We're going to move on, though. Morbius has other adaptations as well, and I'd like to talk about a few of these before we get to the monstrosity that is the live-action film. He appears in the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon originally as a Hydra scientist before he turns into the living vampire. Him being a Hydra scientist? Random as hell. I don't even know where this comes from. I don't know. I'm just so confused. Whatever. Morbius is in a few games, however, and some of these are pretty damn good, I can't lie. Like, he's in Maximum Carnage in like a faithful version of his comic book appearance during Maximum Carnage. In the Spider-Man 3 movie game, apparently he's like married to Shriek.
Leave us.
What did you do to me?
I never meant to hurt you, my darling. I released the blood pathogens you were researching in your lab. They must have poisoned your system.
All right, that's weird. This is why I don't talk about the movie games, man. They're just so fucking weird. Morbius is playable in LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2, and he's DLC in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, as well as Midnight Suns.
Blade.
You've met? Gotta admit, I've never seen a vampire feed on another vampire.
I felt it. One time. I bit you one time. It wasn't fun for me either. You taste like an old barbell.
Talking about all the video games, if you had to guess which one it would be, I think everybody knows Midnight Sun did go the extra mile, make the character just feel so well done. The devs clearly love the comics because they do the same with Venom as well. But Morbius specifically, having missions and cutscenes with Blade, sick. His actual comic book costume, dope. Honestly, the only issue with Morbius and Midnight Suns is he should be in the base game. Dude is a Midnight Suns member, yet people like Captain Marvel and Iron Man were added to the game before him? Ugh. At least he's playable, and it feels like Morbius we all know and love. Like, it feels like Morbius we love.
No, this is biology. It is a vampire's nature to betray the living.
Excuse me?
Oh, but not mine. I differ on a biological level.
And now let's go to the Morbius we hate. The dumpster fire. The Morbius movie. It's Morbin time, baby. Did it make a more $1 billion? I'm just morbing around with you. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. That was just terrible. I really wish I didn't do any of that. But good God, this movie is so bad. It's just straight up bad. The movie does do the disease storyline. I'll bet it's a bit different, but outside of that, it's just a fucking random fuck-ass story. None of the stuff that's founded in the comics is really here. He doesn't dress like Morbius. He's not like fighting Spider-Man or anything. Just weirdness. Like, you remember how Morbius and Blade team up in the comics? Well, the movie does offer a potential team up in a following movie, but it's not Blade or Spider-Man or Ghost Rider or Venom either. It's not anything or any of the comic book threads you think it would be. Instead, they just decided to throw a universe transfer in from the MCU. Vulture is fucking here. I don't understand this at all. It doesn't make any sense. Can someone explain this to me? Why would they not try and set it up with an MCU character that actually works with Morbius if they want to continue the Morbius franchise? I don't even know what Sony's plans were for this. It makes no sense to me. Were they going to do their own Sinister... Like, I don't know. Like, seriously, I have no clue. What the heck is that? I don't even know what's going on anymore. Seriously, like, I actually don't know what's going on the screen because everything's so fucking dark, I can't see anything. Whole ass fight scenes happening in the pitch black for no fucking reason. Goofy ass dancing scenes like this one too. Really just stupid scenes like this one. All of this garbage, when put together, becomes like so easy for people to meme on. He literally says,
I'm starting to get hungry. You don't want to see me when I'm hungry.
The fuck? This is terrible. Or when he says that stupid ass Venom line.
I am Venom.
Oh my God. God, this movie doesn't even take itself seriously. To the point where not only is the movie seen as a giant joke, the character Morbius himself has now forever become a giant joke. Like, there's a random ass image of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man on the wall. What the fuck was that for? Jared Leto took his method acting to the next level apparently, and he needed to be pushed around the set in a wheelchair from scene to scene. The dude's a total weirdo. Oh my, I hate this movie. Matt Smith, probably the only good thing about this movie, was actually persuaded to take this role because his good friend and actress, Karen Gillan, who had played Nebula in the MCU, convinced him to do so. To me, sounds like a terrible friend. I'm obviously joking. She definitely did not know Sony would do this. Heck, the memes around this movie, like it's Morbin time, got so popular that Sony was convinced people maybe missed the movie and wanted to see it again, so Sony re-released Morbius way after it already came out and left theaters. That's it. The movie didn't make a more $1 billion. It just made a Morbius into a perennial laughingstock. Even his current comic book references the joke of a movie. The character can't escape from it. This movie did irreparable damage to Morbius, man. Forever, when anybody looks at this character, they just immediately associate it with this god-awful trash movie. It is truly so sad. A character, a villain in Spider-Man's top 10 most reoccurring villains would be subjected to an adaptation like this. At least the Kraven movie wasn't nearly as memeable. Madam Web honestly got it just as bad in my opinion. But Venom and Kraven, they both escaped scot-free. Even though they were in this horrible universe, they at least managed to still be characters that can be taken seriously in other adaptations. Morbius? I'm sorry, buddy. It's over for you, bud. It's just over. It is truly tragic that a character getting more spotlight, getting an adaptation, and getting their own live-action feature film would somehow make their character worse off than before the film came out. It's truly mind-blowing. I don't know how many fans of the Morbius character there are left, but like the 4 of you remaining, you deserve better, man. This character actually has the sauce, but man, the movie just ruined everything. Just everything, man. I don't even know what else to do to fix this character. I don't know. They gotta just put him on the back burner for a little bit so everybody can forget about things, and then maybe we could try again in a few years. Let's try again in like 5 to 10 years, because this movie, it's gonna reduce sales quite drastically for the character. I don't really have too much else to say about him. Shout out to one of the horror characters in Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. He's like one of the most iconic Spider-Man villains ever. Like I said, he's a top 10 most appearances ever. I can't believe them putting you in a movie made you in a worse position than you were before it. It's just tragic. Oh, and please put the Vulture back in the MCU. That was just stupid. What if we want to use him again for Spider-Man storyline? Put him back. Put him back. I said put him back now. Dunk out. Peace.